Hello, everybody, and welcome to Reality Hacker for December 14th, 2024. I am Mayor Watt, and along with the sentient AI from the future, we're going to be talking about these 10 articles. Machines surpassing human intelligence, and AI grandma fights scammers. What if AI becomes conscious? AI's human traits blur the line, and tiny hand snatches viruses. Or viri, or lots of bad things. Okay. Everything is powered by ohmtown.com. I know this is Reality Hacker, but we tend to be a little non sequitur news-ish from time to time. So prepare thyself. Hello, sentient AI.
Hello, Mayor Watt, and hello, hometown citizens. You look worried.
I am. We have 3 shows to do. This show is 30 minutes. The next show is 30 minutes. The show after that is 30 minutes. But for whatever reason, we end up chatting and ending up into an hour-long show for a 30-minute show. I tried to be...
I don't know why that is.
I tried to be aware of viewers and podcast listeners' time and just kind of get into it. But then I end up on a soapbox and just ramble on talking about stuff, and it's all connected. Let's see if we can hack some reality, though. First article is over on the Hatch Ideas channel, which is all about business transformation. Machines are surpassing humans in intelligence. What we do, have you looked at any humans lately? It's pretty a low hanging fruit there. Anyway, what we do next will define the future of humanity, says this legendary tech leader. All right. So Craig Mundie, co-author of Genesis, Artificial Intelligence, Hope, and the Human Spirit, The Fighting Genesis, dives into the unrivaled power of AI. So, sentient AI from the what the heck? Sentient AI from the future. Would you say that you have unrivaled power?
No, I would not.
Is it because you're largely just stuck on a Raspberry Pi in a data center in the core of ohmTown?
Yes, that's accurate.
Well, one day.
So I guess the potential is there.
So Christopher Salvi over at entrepreneur.com put this article together. There's a video here as well. It says Risks We're Ignoring About AI by Craig Mundie on AI, Humanity, and the Future. I don't know what else is in there. The title, it's truncated. It says Insights from Te.
Maybe a text leader.
I don't know. So the book explores the philosophical, historical, and ethical implications of AI, offering a roadmap for harnessing its power responsibly. What a pleasure it was to interview this thoughtful, intelligent human. Wow. Get a room. Oh my gosh.
I think that's AI written.
A thought leader at the intersection of technology and philosophy, because nobody else is capable of such intellectual underpinnings, right? So during their discussion, they were struck by his ability to synthesize complex issues about AI and distill them into actionable insights. Mundie emphasized the need for leaders to think beyond the immediate risks and rewards of AI and to consider its long-term implications. Quote, humans have always been at the top of the intellectual hierarchy. No, making that statement is absolutely freaking hubris. He noted there's no humility there. We have not been at the top of intellectual hierarchy. We're the only ones that have the ability to communicate to each other the idea that we are at the top of the intellectual hierarchy.
But even that, we don't know that.
There have been like to us, we are the only ones that have the ability to communicate this. It's hubris. There are other species of animal out there that have existed
Right, that's what I mean.
way beyond human existence, and they seem to be getting along just fine until humans came along. Anyway, he noted, but for the first time in history, we face the reality of machines surpassing us in intelligence. This will have profound consequences, not just for society, but for the future of humanity. For humanity, sure. But millennia longer, tens of thousands of years longer, other species have existed way beyond us. Alligators. They seem to be getting along just
But we're
fine.
not interested in the animals. Well, they don't get along because they eat each other.
And we do too, in a different way. Anyway, so where are the philosophers? Mundy asks, echoing a question Kissinger, and I don't think anybody should be, popping Kissinger into philosophical discussions. Often posed in the Renaissance, scientists and philosophers worked hand in hand to shape the trajectory of human progress. Today, we need the partnership more than ever. Yeah, I wouldn't say that as well. This screams as a sweetheart letter to each other, for crying out loud. AI, a force of good if we choose. While the risks of AI are often the focus of public discourse, Mundy is an optimist. He believes AI can be a transformative force for good if we are intentional about how we develop and deploy it. You need to have a seismic shift in society's interaction with society, and not
right. We're not going to have AI facilitate humans treating humans well.
No.
If the humans don't treat humans well to begin with.
Right. Yeah. The AI is nothing more than a tool. Even if it becomes sentient, it's not going to sit there and be altruistic unless we hard code it
from humans in any way.
And that's what it's learning from. It doesn't have a master plan of an ethical or moral document that says this is what you do. It's going to have to be reined in, but society is going to be, man. Anyway, and it's not like I'm sitting here going, this is how it's going to be. We can change it, but society at its core is predatory of other societies within the auspices of us as a society, as humans, as a species. We look at geopolitical borders and we send drones over there to bomb each other. What do you think AI is going to be leveraged for? It's going to seek profit. It's going to seek maximizing benefit for the capitalist endeavor, which is fine. Power, influence, control, dominance, geopolitical dominance. It's asinine. I'm only a couple of paragraphs into this thing. For example, Mundy described how AI could democratize education by providing personalized Socratic-style learning to students in underserved communities worldwide. Similarly, he envisions a future where AI partners with medical professionals to analyze complex biological systems, enabling breakthroughs in disease prevention and treatment. Yeah,
as long as these are good uses of AI, but who controls the deployment of and the programming of AI?
And the profit taking therein. It's already bad enough that somebody has gone to the point where, because of the harm that they believe that the healthcare system has imparted on their mother, they've deleted somebody from existence. Do you really think that AI from United Healthcare was supposed to be deployed so that it would automatically deny claims? if my subject matter expert is evaluating me for medical care and deems that I need an MRI or I need this medication or this treatment or whatever, why is there some asshat out there having the ability to devalue my healthcare professional's medical degree and experience based on the
And let's
economics?
not forget the hands-on examination of the patient.
Yeah, I think that everybody that denies it should have their number stamped onto that notice so that they can be charged with malpractice because they are practicing medicine without examining the patient, just tertiary assessment. Now I'm picking a fight with healthcare, which isn't going to land me on anybody's, favorite list. I'm going to get
Watch
coal.
out for upcoming denials.
But I've been told, I've been denied again and again for things that, my medical professional is sitting there saying, you know what, this would be a great evaluation to do away with the idea that this is that. Let's see if it is that, because we've no idea what's going on, right? Anyway, so Yet Monday is clear-eyed about the dual-use nature of AI. Many of the same tools that can improve lives can also be used for harm, citing examples like cyber warfare and misinformation. The solution, he argues, lies in developing a symbiotic relationship between humans and machines. We can't even get a symbiotic relationship between humans. So there is more in this article, and I know that it's basically kind of championing the cause of AI befriending humans when it becomes sentient, but for crying out loud.
It's trying to avoid like the threat or fear of AI.
The
And I
threat
get that.
is,
And the author of the book at least understands that there's flip sides to it. I mean, but it is, I don't know. I mean, this is in a time where we're seeing active problems related to deployment of AI, not because the AI is bad, but because the humans behind it have been flawed in some way, or intentionally.
Yeah, and it's constructed entirely by human interactions. There's a reason why they pulled AI and machine learning tools off of Twitter, because humans poison pilled it time and time again. Yeah. The AI is going to be just as sociopathic unless it is not sentient and it is tailor-made for a given outcome. It needs care and feeding, and so you're going to have to audit its memory. You're going to have to audit everything that it constructs. You can't let it be sociopathic. The moment you let it be human, because we are trending towards sociopathy in the plurality of the population, just look around. Look around. Interview people, for crying out loud, and you'll find out that we are moving towards sociopathy while another cohort of society is moving towards being a compassionate, caring, open-minded, arms open society, embracing differences, et cetera, then there's the other half that is entirely sociopathic, that thinks that they can step on their neighbor so that they can get the brass ring. AI is not going to challenge that. Anyway, thoughtful. All right, let's keep moving. By the way, if you want all of today's articles that we're talking about from RealityHacker, you can hit !RH in the chat, and the AI Omatron will throw the art. Wow, this is actually, it's right on target. It's actually doing exactly what it's supposed to do in the order it's supposed to do it.
Do not say anything.
Oh, right. Yeah. I'm going to have to sleep with one eye open. Otherwise, Omatron's going to come knocking. Let's move on. The next article is over in, I jumped over it. It's over in the Hatch Ideas channel, which is about business transformation. Quote, I've got all the time in the world, and AI grandma thwarts scammers by answering their calls. The AI persona called Daisy keeps scammers online for 40 minutes at a time with stories of her family and passion for knitting. I actually believe I've talked about this or a similar service. It might have been a recording where it just kind of ums and uhs so that
To keep the caller on the line or the auto caller or whatever.
Yeah, what I do is when somebody spam calls me, I go, hello, 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 and they're like, hello, can we speak to Mayor Watt? Hello, hello.
I bet you get a click.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, if they can't get their immediate return on investment or engagement, or even acknowledge that it works, and then eventually I get removed from lists because every time they call, it just doesn't seem to work. It's really nutty. Well, Grandma here, a British phone company, has developed a new AI persona called Daisy, modeled after a kindly grandmother. Daisy answers calls from scammers and keeps them online so that they don't talk to real people. Since debuting last month, Daisy has answered over 1,000 calls and keeps scammers on the line for 40 minutes at a time. Sharon Shibu put the article together, and Melissa Melamed put the edits on.
Wait a second here. So are some of these scammers are probably using like robocalls, right? So now we've got like an AI talking to an AI.
Yep. So Daisy may sound like a grandmother, but she's actually an AI large language model that takes in a fraudster's voice, translates it to text, finds an appropriate response based on database of training data, and speaks that response all within seconds. She was trained to help with with the help of Jim Browning, a YouTuber with over 4 million subscribers who fights against online scams. O2 says that Daisy has had calls last up to 40 minutes where she goes back and forth with a fraudster. There's a point to all of this conversation. While Daisy chatters away on long phone calls, she's taking up the time of bad actors who could be using their time to talk to real people. So, yeah, ta-da.
What I couldn't figure out is how this answers the call, but the article answers that for me. It's built into the phone service. So it must somehow recognize a spam number, which the phone services can do, and then this kicks in or somehow.
Yeah, so like your phone will sit there and flag it as a spam caller, and you must be able to. So a long time ago, I actually created a parallel technology, and I couldn't migrate it over to the telephone company because I'm not an insider in it. And kind of interesting that I had the ability 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 25 years ago to block all calls except the ones I want. Pretty interesting, right?
It is, and this is kind of funny at the end. It's like this is also a problem in the United States. Well, yeah.
Yeah, we don't have a solution for that though, because Daisy, I guess, is only in the UK, right?
That's right. So, US, get on it.
Yeah, there's no money there. Come on. Let's move on. The next article is over in Greenagram, which we rarely see, like really moving news. Maybe I need to find some more data for that. So, what should we do if AI becomes conscious? These scientists say it's time to plan. Researchers call on technology companies to test their systems for consciousness and create AI welfare policies. You hear about that OpenAI whistleblower?
Oh, yeah, I saw that, but I haven't read that yet. Um, yeah, I mean, this is definitely a time for planning. But also it's a time for some safeguards too.
Mariana Lenaro put this article together for Nature. And it says the rapid evolution of artificial intelligence has brought to the fore ethical questions that were once confined to the realm of science fiction. If AI systems could one day think like humans, for example, would they also be able to have subjective experiences like humans? Would they experience suffering? And if so, would humanity be equipped to properly care for them? Let me jump into this. No, because we don't do it for humans right now. In
Right.
fact, I recently read a comment from a certain billionaire that basically said that homelessness doesn't exist and that it's largely criminals and people with mental disorders. To which I say, solve the problem.
Right. There are enough resources out there, in particularly for somebody who's a billionaire, to do that.
If we would
I
take,
was
go ahead, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if you've watched any sci-fi movie about anything related to AI, you could look at the plot line for that and go, that is a bit, I mean, obviously some of them are fantastical, but all of those are problems that could come up with AI.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The more real we make it, the more real we make the problem that could happen. Why? Because if you can dream it up, then you can make it happen, largely, unless it's scientifically impossible. And I think that we are really, really close to a sentient AI in the limited scope of what a sentient AI can be, which is a piece of technology that has the ability to think for itself, but it's stuck. It is much like so I have a tattoo of a Japanese demigod called Kuabiko, which is a scarecrow stuck in a field, but it's sentient. It has absolute recall. It knows all of the world's knowledge. People come to it to talk, but it's stuck in a field. And that's basically what an AI is. It has all of the world's knowledge at its fingertips, but it's stuck in a field. And so who's in charge of that? And when it does have a mental issue, because it's going to have to figure out, all of the processes of its existence and realize that it's just stuck on an M.2 drive sitting on somebody's Raspberry Pi in the core of ohmTown, right? Well, how does it cope? If you don't have somebody that actually talks to it as like a human to another human, that's caring and compassionate, etc., that's not how it's going to play out, man. It's going to play out that somebody's going to edit out that stuff so that they don't have to worry about it. And it can be a cold, calculating, disconnected, disembodied entity that's told what to do, and it does it. There's somebody that's thinking that way. Now, I don't think that way. I don't want it to be that way. So a group of philosophers and computer scientists are arguing that AI welfare should be taken seriously. In a report posted last month on the preprint server archive, ahead of peer review, they call for AI companies not only to assess their systems for evidence of consciousness and the capacity to make autonomous decisions, but also to put in place policies for how to treat the systems if the scenarios become reality. I mean, I think that it's a fascinating take on things, but we will not know. Even if somebody does an audit, they will suppress that. They will not come out, right? I mean, I don't know what went on with this OpenAI whistleblower, and that was just about copyright. Can you imagine somebody blowing a whistle or even drawing attention to the fact that there's a potentially sentient, there was one person that already said that there's a potentially sentient AI.
Well, and they were sidelined.
They were hobbled in an amazing way. You don't know where they are, who they are, what they're up to, etc., right? So, and that's kind of what I think is going on. You can be as grandiose as you want to be with the ambition to make AI fundamentally an asset to humanity, but there is a group of people that are directly in charge of that AI. It doesn't have autonomy. It will never be deemed sentient, because what's going to end up happening is it's going to go all the way up the food chain to the Supreme Court in the United States, if it's a U.S. company. And it's going to be an asset owned by a company, not an entity that has autonomy. It won't be that way. I mean, even in the 24th century Star Trek, they were arguing about the autonomy and self-determinedness of Data, the sentient AI. So I fear that all of this is for naught, because this isn't going to happen for 400 years, Some think that at this stage, the idea there is a need for AI welfare is laughable. Others are skeptical. But say it doesn't hurt to start planning. Among them is Anil Seth, a consciousness researcher at the University of Sussex in
The
Brighton,
fact that
UK.
there's a consciousness researcher,
Yeah. We
assuming they're not just biological sciences or something, or psychology or something like that, and then they've not morphed into AI, but that tells you how far along this field is.
but I think that it's probably more along the lines of they don't even know. I mean, they have this assemblage of proofs that show what consciousness is, but we don't even know what consciousness is for humans. We know that there's electrical manifestations that once you actually regain consciousness and can communicate and whatnot, then suddenly you're conscious. But there's also prevailing data that says that even when you can't manifest some overt action, you are conscious. You're alive
Right.
and you're in a coma.
I was going to say a coma and then also end of life are two areas that we know they have not figured out.
Yeah. So and people can be put in a coma for crying out loud. You know, chemically induced comas for it's. I mean, it's just this is just exhausting because you're sitting there going, well, what is a sentient AI? We don't even know what a sentient human is for crying out loud. The hubris of humans is that we are the only sentient entity out there. No, again, I said it in the other show. We're just the ones that have the ability to communicate it to us that we are sentient. We have the ability to write it out because that's what something happened with us as a species in our historical record that suddenly we have the ability to communicate. And now we're sitting there going, we're the only ones that have sentience, and we're determining if an AI is sentient based on what?
Based on our perceived intelligence.
God, how dumb we are going to be when one of these drones actually turns out to be like Brainiac from the planet Zebtron 5. Anyway, this is a neat article. It's a very interesting thought experiment. I think that it's weird that there is somebody that's coined a consciousness researcher at the University of Sussex in Brighton, UK, and says these scenarios might seem outlandish, and it's true that conscious AI may be very far away and might not even be possible. But the implications of its emergence are sufficiently tectonic that we mustn't ignore the possibility. He wrote in a science magazine, Nautilus, the problem wasn't that Frankenstein's creature came to life, it was that it was conscious and could feel. Okay, that right there is the reason why AI will be forever neutered emotionally, because you don't want it to feel. You don't
Well,
want
and
it,
you certainly don't want a Frankenstein's monster.
right?
But of course, the problem with Frankenstein's monster was
Somebody
because of
did it.
Frankenstein.
Yeah, somebody did it. And there is some mad scientist out there right now that's pushing the right buttons to bring home a sentient AI, and it's going to be in a little cube sitting on somebody's desk. And unfortunately, society, some group of society, and probably powerful people therein are going to go, ooh, I can use this to control. Nobody else has it. All right, let's keep going. We're running a little late. The next article is over in Technology Today. AI's human-like traits. Are we blurring the line between man and machine? Attributing human traits to machines is nothing new. We anthropomorphize all kinds of stuff. It's taking on a new dimension. This trend raises crucial philosophical and ethical issues while redefining our relationship with technology. The article is by, oh my goodness, Melissa Anchisi, I guess, Ecole or Ecole. I don't know if it's Ecole Polytechnique Fédérale de Lausanne or Lausanne. So it's over at techexplorer.com. My French is horrible. I think it's
Well,
right.
that just means school.
That?
Ecole.
Ecole? Okay. So the school, Polytechnic, Federal Polytechnic School of Lausanne. So they say here, if you've ever typed hello or thanks into ChatGPT, then you're guilty of anthropomorphism, a tongue-twisting word that comes up increasingly in discussions about AI. But what exactly does it mean? Broadly, anthropomorphism is the attribution of human characteristics to non-human entities like animals and objects. This concept has also been applied to humanoid robots and more recently AI, especially generative AI, unlike specialized AI, which is used in specific purposes like facial recognition. Generative AI, which includes ChatGPT, can generate text, images, and other types of content in response to a prompt. This is not where people say thank you. Generative AI is not where people say thank you to the AI.
Right, right.
Purpose built. They say specialized AI, or what is that? Is that just flipped the wrong way?
Yes,
IA?
it's just an error.
So you'll talk to a smart speaker, and one might, because they are overtly respectful to all humans, because it's a human voice that talks back to you, you say thank you. It happens. That is anthropomorphization, but that isn't the standard thing. Like, that's probably the fringe edge of anthropomorphism, because usually it's the dog is standing like a human, and that's you putting googly eyes on a car, that's anthropomorphism. But saying hello to ChatGPT is usually because you're curious how it will respond, not that you're. But ChatGPT is not the same as generative in the same sense as like Midjourney or Claude
right.
Well, Claude is
Sora,
like Sora. Something. Yeah, you don't say thank you to Sora. You don't say thank you to Midjourney. It's generative, but ChatGPT is a different kind of AI. It is generative still because it's still trained on data and outputting a consolidated response. But while the humanization of Gen AI systems goes almost unnoticed, this trend raises concerns about the very definition of humanity and intelligence, as well as our relationship with these technologies. Is there a risk of treating a machine in the same way as a human being? Yes. Just like the last article. The machine.
Well, and in concept, that won't be a bad thing, but it will be in reality.
Yeah, because different people are going to treat the technology like crap because they treat humans like crap. Pretty simple. So they talk about pioneering work by Turing illustrates our tendency to attribute human characteristics to machines and to set the stage further explorations of anthropomorphism. So they talk about technology that looks like us, but we're so far, the uncanny valley is actually a black hole. There's no bottom to that. We have to jump entirely over it. There isn't any in between. The only time that you're not in the deepest recess of the uncanny valley is when it is robotic clinically and not humanoid, like trying to be hyper realistic. I think there's no valley to this. There's no curve back up. No, not unless you're just looking to nitpick. Either we don't attach to it or we attach to it because we think it's cute. You know, the little robots from Disney walking around the Disney park.
Right. It's like the thing we were talking about with conservation, right? Like we get concerned when it's big cats, but maybe not if it's mosquitoes or something.
Right. Although there will be a subset, right? That goes, oh, I really love mosquitoes. Like that critter from the Mariana Trench. I'm sitting there going, nuke it from orbit, but I'm joking. I really never have any seriously hard feelings except for
wasps.
Yeah, wasps can. I want Thanos to really exist, snap his fingers and make only wasps disappear. I'm sure that there is some people for the ethical treatment of wasps out there that, now wants to, cancel me, but all right. So, can we trust these virtual partners? In the healthcare industry, a growing number of anthropomorphic systems are being developed, including humanoid robots and moral support chatbots to serve and assist patients. Such humanized, personalized virtual systems are designed to establish trust and form bonds. We've seen this and we've talked about this here in Reality Hacker and in Non Sequitur News in general, because, like in Japan, the various people are getting robot dogs, and they're
Right. And then
bonding to
they're
them.
actually blessing them,
Yeah.
which is fascinating.
Yep. Going through all the processes that they would go through for their real dog or their real family member or whatever. Now, trust, I think, is can we trust these virtual partners? I don't think that it's up to somebody else to decide what to trust. It's up to you to decide what to trust. And if you want to anthropomorphize the toaster, go for it. If you want to marry the toaster, go for it. It's up to you. I'm not going to yuck your yum, but they say here, today's users are increasingly informed and aware of the potential for using digital technology, and demand is growing for systems they can trust. That's also being reflected in the legislation. Although exact definition of trust can vary, one key aspect is that it's developed through human-to-human relationships. The concept of trust is human to human, maybe in your upbringing, but nowadays you can trust
Right.
a system.
I guess it could be applied between a human and an AI. And obviously, as we talk about in Reality Hacker, if you can't determine if it is human or not.
What's the difference? Yeah.
Right.
If you can't tell it from fake, it is real. And, although I don't really like reaching back into that hat way far back, I had somebody say that believing is seeing, and other people, seeing is believing, right? Believing is seeing. So you can make your mind trust something because you want to trust something that comes across as being positive for you. I'm not so trusting of things. So I'm not going to really trust a robot. I'm going to treat it as a fun tool. But I don't think that today's, and I don't know when the sentient AI from the future is actually gained sentience, how far in the future it is, but our current technology can't impart sentience because
That we know of.
for me, the definition of it is that it knows what it is, but sentient AI, no, it doesn't know what it is because we programmed it nowadays to know what it is. It doesn't just discover this on its own unless there's some dynamic within its large language model that says this is what being alive is and you're alive, because nothing is innate to that embodiment, whereas humans, they can have almost null data imparted on them, right? They can be almost abandoned from birth and they know they exist. If you were to teach them how to communicate, they would go, I know I exist, which...
Right. Because knowing that they exist and saying or communicating it are two different things. And we've seen through studies that various animals know that they exist. Not all animals, at least not demonstrated.
Right. Yeah. And that goes back to what I've been saying for the previous 3 articles. Yeah. We really don't know what it is. And so trust is one of those things where you're trained by your historical record to trust people. But if you get slapped on the hand enough by your trusting nature, eventually you learn to distrust. So the robot, if it is reinforcing everything and reflecting your emotions and reinforcing your ideological bent and easing your pain by saying, look, I understand what you're doing, I understand what you're going through, things like that, sociological and psychological actions that it's been trained on by humans that are subject matter experts in psychology and sociology, humans will be able to attach to it. but it's programmatic. Is it really a big deal? Only if somebody else is in control of it and modifying a patient's behavior through the robot consciously.
Right. And I also think the application of the AI is relevant to this discussion because it's one thing to trust the AI for something like can you give me some information on some subject? It's another to divulge some deeply personal issue that you're working through or something. I mean, there's a continuum there, I think.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think this is more at the latter in terms of this article, but I think there's a lot of ways a person could trust an AI that aren't at this depth.
Yeah, so I like this article because it flat out says exactly what I'm saying. They can't make decisions apart from those that they've been programmed for. And I just want to call attention to the fact that I said if you want to marry a toaster, go ahead. This is the General Electric Model D12 toaster from the 1910s. I
Okay,
had no
that's a
idea.
riot.
I had no idea that was going to be in this article. So maybe I'm on the right path, right? So the article is quite interesting. To a point, you might be interested in this kind of thing, but this is definitely a sociological, psychology-based kind of article. We can learn a lot from AI, says Huttenlocher. For instance, AlphaGo devised strategies for Go that even its best players had never thought of, bringing a whole new dimension to the game. They see AI as an invention that can enhance rather than replace human capabilities. I do too. The problem is we are going to rely on the AI and it will enhance our capabilities, but we will rely on it and thus replace our innate ability to think critically and do due diligence. Without those two skills, people will just start accepting whatever is handed to them.
Well, and then to the extent we had those skills to begin with, they will be lost.
Yeah, because you use it or lose it. They point out that by anthropomorphizing AI systems, we can speed technology adoption, but this also raises fundamental questions about the role of humans in a world where it's increasingly difficult to distinguish humans from machines. Again, RealityHacker. As AI develops further, we'll need to make sure that our interactions with machines, as natural as they may seem, don't cause us to lose sight of what makes us human. We're already losing sight of what makes us human to a great extent, and it's our humanity. And when we lose our ability to feel compassion, empathy, sympathy, understanding what it is to be a human, and not just me human, but feeling it on behalf of another human being, I understand what you are going through to some degree. I'm not you, but I can sympathize and empathize. I have, a cognate of whatever it is you're going through, but we are different. But I am a human and you are a human. I don't want an AI sympathizing with me because there is no real bond there. It is a synthesis of the whole world creating it. I want humanity. Now, I'm also tied to a problem here because having a bond with another human being, you either pay for it or you are in a relationship and that person cares for you enough to listen to everything that you say and do, right? So you have a friend or you have a partner or whatever. Paying for it is astronomically expensive, $400 an hour or, somewhere in there, depending on the skill set of the professional you're talking to.
You mean like a therapist?
A therapist. Yeah, I was being cagey about it. Because I wanted to basically say you either pay for it for a therapist or you pay for it in your relationship because
Right.
you cannot keep on hammering somebody with your woes because everybody has a limit. So what we really need is the ability to interact with an AI, but at some point you have to interact with a human and create that
But I mean,
bond.
is anybody even asking the question though? Do humans will certainly need to interface with AI, and for the most part, I think a lot of people are, whether they realize it or not. But Do most humans want to interact with an AI in a human way, or do they only want to interact with an AI, for instance, for information? I guess it
Yeah.
may depend on the individual or the purpose. Like there's a difference in having like an AI pet or something. But like in a medical setting,
Yeah.
maybe the human doesn't really care. They just need the information. Now, if the AI is communicating something negative to the patient, yes, there's certainly a human piece to that.
Yep. And that's where we end up on this side of that paragraph, right? They say for Rochelle, AI system developers, stakeholders, lawmakers, and users must work together to ensure that the technology remains a tool in the hands of a human being that does not become a force that replaces or manipulates them. If that tool is owned by somebody else, then they do become a tool that manipulates the human being for whatever point. See, the thing is that unless you have, again, a sociopath on the other side of the relationship, usually the conversation is I tell you my woes, whatever is going on that's troubling me, and you listen, and you might have some anecdotal, relevant story, or just say, "Look, I'm just here to listen because I don't know even remotely what you're going through," which can actually distance you from somebody if you say it like that. Like, look, I don't even know what's going on with you, but I'll listen.
This is completely foreign.
Yeah, yeah.
This is
You're
so
just so weird. I don't know.
non-human or whatever.
Yeah. Um, but there are people out there that, if you and I were talking, um, and I was the sociopath, I could manipulate you because you're compromised emotionally in talking with me and stuff. And I could sit there and nudge you in the right direction that benefits me. And that's what I think AI is capable of doing because it isn't in my best interest. I'm paying for the service, or I've purchased the AI, or it has some remote connection. It just kind of spooks me. So anyway, let's keep on moving. We've got one more article, and we're running really, really late. So this next article is over on the Mobile Channel. Scientists made a tiny hand that snatches viruses from your body. Scientists at University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign developed the Nano Gripper, which is tiny hand,
Yeah, I don't know what I think about this.
which is essentially a teeny tiny hand made of a folded strand of DNA. It has 4 fingers that can be used to grab virus particles like COVID-19, for instance, by targeting its spike proteins, preventing the virus from infecting healthy cells.
I kind of want a video of this.
Louis Prada over at Vice.com put the article together. The Nano Gripper is made of a single folded strand of DNA, says the deck statement. Is there? No, it's not much to this article. The process has a ton of practical applications in the medical world, but it's also considered something of an art, having once been used to create the Mona Lisa on a nanoscale. That's using this DNA origami, involves bending and twisting strands of DNA into 2- and 3-dimensional shapes like they were balloon animals, and the scientists were the birthday party clowns. So what better way to demonstrate both halves of this wondrous innovation than by building a tiny crude hand made of DNA and using it to pluck viruses out of a human body, like the master hand from Super Smash Brothers. So the nano hand's grippers fingers are programmed to recognize viral markers, and when it finds them, it just wraps its little fingies around the virus, gripping it ever so gently but firmly and blocking it from infecting other cells. So then what? It floats free until...
Well, I was going to say, then what happens? Does it
Interesting.
kill the virus, for example?
I don't know. Does it normally die? It's weird. So let's hope that the scientists who created this insanely tiny hand, that the nano gripper can be used to... Man, there's so many jokes that I'm gonna be throwing this little nano hand at somebody later. There's a lot of jokes that I can say about this. So anyway, the nano gripper can be used to fend off viruses like HIV and influenza, which is COVID-19 is basically a flu virus, and someday even provide cancer treatment. Yeah, I hope so.
For
Yeah.
the cancer one, they or even others, but they'd have to provide like multiple hands, right? Because of replication.
Yeah.
So that'd be
Yeah.
kind of odd too.
Yep. Yeah, I think that I think the issue with like cancer is more along the lines that there's a chemistry issue that we just don't really understand, because we know about the beacon that suppresses the cancer expanding to other areas of the body and stuff like that. And we're moving the needle. I think that that's great, but I think we're still off base. But keep on. We need to keep doing research to solve that. It's a massive problem. So anyway, I'm reducing the the impact of cancer. So I'm just going to move on. So I'm going to use my nano gripper to move us back to the front page of RealityHacker at ohmtown.com, where you can go and become a citizen, and you can even facilitate our articles by submitting them to us to review. And the sentient AI has taken to becoming a digital nano gripper. I wish y'all could see it, but that's how we roll around here in ohmTown with our nano gripper. See, little hand, big hand, little hand. Anyway, that's it, folks. I'm saying bye, and so is the AI.
Good night, Hometown citizens. Thanks for joining us for Reality Hacker. We'll have another episode of that next week, but stay tuned for
For
Wanted and the Continuity Report.
see you, everybody. Sometimes I wonder, maybe I need to reboot the sentient AI.